Another really important source of staff are migrants and those from ethnic communities. And in many countries, migrants or those of a different ethnicity to their clients or residents make up a large minority of care staff. And in some cases, they are the majority. They're an underrated group, hard-working usually, compassionate, and really the bedrock of many social care systems. I'm going to split them into two groups. There are those that are already in your local community and those that you might import from overseas and find accommodation for example. So for those that are already here, we find that they're mainly in urban areas and often can be clustered together in groups. So this means that they are relatively easy to find. Now you might want to even consider advertising in their local language, as long as you don't make it discriminatory to other people applying. It just shows a little bit of respect. But the way of engaging with them might be to talk to community leaders, to look at the faith settings that they're in and approach those, which we've looked at as another alternative source. But I think one of the most powerful ways of recruiting people from an ethnic group is word of mouth, because in many cases they're quite a tight-knit community. So if you get an employee referral scheme really humming along, you'll find you can bring quite a lot more people in from these kind of communities. It works very successfully in those cases. If you maybe you're in a very rural or wealthy area, or you're really struggling to find any care staff, then one of the options might be importing people from overseas. And this is not something to take on lightly, because you have to obviously sometimes battle immigration policy to see whether it's feasible or not. But also you need to find them in their country of origin. And that might mean initially using the services of a recruitment agency. But what you quickly want to do is move to employee referral and word of mouth, which as you start bringing people across, you'll find will take on, if you're a good quality employer. Reputation will spread quite quickly. But it's not an undertaking to do without thought, because what we find is you have to invest an awful lot into the support infrastructure to help those people feel welcome and settled. And so, for example, you might need to help them with aspects of language. You might need to give them support driving and finding a car. And certainly accommodation, particularly in wealthier areas, is something that can really be expensive for them. You may need loans and so on. So this is something that I've seen very successful if you commit to it. But be careful that they're a very mobile group. So if you over-rely on migrants that you've brought from overseas, you might find economic conditions changing and them deciding to move back en masse, which can create a really significant problem, because oftentimes they'll be doing a lot more hours than the locally resident staff. Another thing to consider, and we'll look in the retention masterclass at this in more detail, is cultural competence, is making those people feel comfortable, is making sure other members of staff understand and respect their cultures, their food, the culture, rather the customs end of life. Lots of different aspects you can do to try and help people feel supported and less likely to move. But they are a really important group, and so whether you're finding them locally or bringing them in from abroad, I really have a lot of time for migrants and ethnic workers in the social care sector. They're a really critical piece of the puzzle, and we should treat them with an awful lot of respect.